Pandemonium Reigns.
Hello, my friends. Welcome.
Pandemonium Reigns.
That one seems like traction is picking up for Mike and Pandemonium Reigns. So appreciate you guys. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Not only is our listening audience growing, Mike's facial hair is growing.
It sure is making a comeback, son.
Don't call it a comeback.
Minor setback for a major comeback.
I do want to point out before we get started on this weekend slate that there seems to be more merit and traction to the Jeremy Banks Hendon Hooker hoedown throwdown during practice this week. So could have resulted in some locker room issues going into Saturday night. But you know what? A wise man once said to me, you know what he said to me, Mike?
I have no idea.
He said, roll tide. So we're going to roll on.
Yeah, we are.
We're going to roll
Keeping
on. Keeping it moving. Hey, so some exciting potential upsets that almost happened outside of the fifth-ranked team losing. I'm not bitter at all. I'm not salty at all. It's fine.
No, we're good. We're good.
It's fine. We exceeded expectations, right?
Right up until week 12 we did, yeah.
Yeah. And then the bottom fell out. So maybe we should apologize for our Orange Cast listeners on that last episode for the depressing sadness that was. Should we apologize? No.
No.
Okay.
We all needed to process it, and we tried to best we could. And I can't believe it was G to PG rated. I can't believe it. I just can't believe it.
Michael's mouth escaped.
Yeah. I escaped unscathed on the internet.
I'm going to mark myself safe on Facebook from Michael's mouth. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, let's talk some football. Because some crazy stuff happened over the weekend in the Big Ten and the Big 12, especially. Let's talk Illinois and Michigan as we get into this, because Michigan, I think even if they lose going into Saturday, that they're still probably in at this point. I mean, Tennessee really opened up a lot of doors and created a wider door for Michigan in my mind. But they went toe-to-toe with Illinois, and it about took everything that they had.
Sure did.
And you and I said if Illinois can run the ball well the way that they have, and they did. Brown went 29 carries, 140 yards, 4.8 yards per carry, 2 scores. And, I mean, that's good. That's solid right there.
Very solid.
That with the amount of carries and the amount of yards, it tells me that those were drives being put together. Because your quarterback went 21 for 30 for 178, no scores, no picks. But I think the story coming out of that game, outside of Michigan squeaking out that win, was Blake Corum and that potential knee injury.
Yeah.
So his status going into Saturday is going to be big time. Didn't mean to cut you off there. What you got?
No, I was just going to say I was surprised that he finished that game, and he came back because that happened right before half, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes were on the Big 12 and the SEC action in that window, and like I said, I think he came back in the second half. I don't know how effective he was, but just a warrior. But yeah, he'll be crucial for the game on Saturday. Yeah,
it was, again, like you said, surprised to see him make a return. They're going to need him. Yeah, they're going to need him against Ohio State.
Absolutely.
Considering both Ohio State and Michigan are going to be playing their first game of the year on Saturday.
Yeah.
I've got, at this point, I've got Michigan in the playoff, even if they lose.
No, I'm with you. As long as they keep it respectable, I'm with you.
Yeah, I mean, if they get blown out, something like what we did, then I can't let it go. I can't let it go.
No. It'll be a decade long. This will be a decade long pain. So
we're going to
erase it.
We're going to have a win that erases that. So yeah.
Yeah. And it won't be in 2022. There's not any left.
Okay. So TCU, Baylor, that had my attention from start to finish. And,
Same.
At that point in time, we were wanting a TCU loss. In hindsight, hey, Good for you guys.
Sure.
Hope you go win it all.
Yeah. Now I'm rooting for you. Be wearing purple if I have it.
I do want to talk about in their closing seconds of this game, it's almost like, we don't care about the playoffs. But just we like to live life on the wild side, and whatever happens, happens. These guys come out, I believe, with no timeouts left.
Yep.
Run the ball again, and then run their field goal team out there. Do I have that right? Did they go back-to-back runs?
I think they did. Let me just glance. I've got it right here. Where am I at? Got to go all the way down to the bottom because that makes sense, ESPN. Yes, we got. Oh no, we had an incompletion.
Oh, that's right.
Left 22
yeah.
seconds.
That's
and
right.
And then they ran the ball for 2 yards on 3rd and 7.
That's what made it so mind-boggling, because they ran it when the clock was stopped.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they rushed the field goal team out there. Kicker doesn't go through his normal routine. Doesn't matter. They knock it down. TCU's still in the playoffs at this point. So, yeah. I mean, these guys just, say what you want to about them. They just keep finding ways to win.
They do.
And
they find ways to win games they have no business winning, frankly. And Baylor left, gosh, I know 10 points on the board with an overthrow of it was really 10 points on one drive where they had a late throw that turned out to be underthrown, where if he leads the receiver, it's a cakewalk touchdown.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and then they miss a 46-yard field goal on that drive. I believe is the distance because it was making its rounds on my timeline.
Yeah.
But just inexcusable loss for Baylor, but some credit for sure to TCU for winning against all odds, even the ones they created for themselves.
Yeah. And Baylor, I think, is better than their record. If I remember right, they started out as a top 10 team going into week 1.
Yeah, they were getting a lot of love. And I even had them as I had them as the dark horse Big 12 playoff team.
That's
because
right.
of what they've done with Aranda, how much I think of him, even still, despite 6-5 this year.
Mm-hmm.
They're better than that record. I don't know what Baylor team played Kansas State last week and got throttled by 28 points, but the team Saturday was tough and responded well despite a disappointing loss the week prior.
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out, was that Kansas State loss. Like they've been in every game that they've played, even the ones that they lost. 3-point loss to West Virginia, 6-point loss to BYU. So they're a good Baylor team, but man, Kansas State was like, hold my beer. And they're going to be going into Texas next week, who is, I guess say what you want to about Kansas, and we'll get there, but my gosh.
Yeah, Texas made a little bit of a statement there.
Yeah. Hey, I want to talk about, they didn't play anybody on Saturday, but this has to be one of the hottest teams in the country right now that really nobody's talking about, and that's Florida State.
Yeah.
49-17 over the Ragin' Cajuns, and Jordan Travis just continues to ball out. But they really leaned hard. If you look at the stats on their running game, Benson had a good day. Toafili was respectable on his 4 carries, 11 yards per carry. Travis only threw it 14 times. But man, they just didn't need to. They're playing out of their mind right now. And the way Florida is looking, where is that game? Is this going to be at Tallahassee, or is it going to be? It's in Tallahassee, so and it's a night game. Ooh.
Oh man, 10-point favorites for this early 10-point favorites are the Noles against the Wolf Gators right now. Cue
the war chant.
Right? Yeah. Yes.
As of right now, I know we're not in the prediction podcast right now, but I'm going to be taking Florida State in that game 100%.
I will be as well. Yeah, same.
I'm a little surprised that after Florida wet the bed, which this is going to be the one that we're getting into right here, that Florida State spread is not a little higher than 10 points. But
as am I.
Here we are. So we did the thing. You and I both did the thing where Gators go into Nashville and catch an L, and we point and we laughed. Ha 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 ha!
So funny.
But you know what? Let's bring it back. So the stat, I think I sent this to you on Saturday after it took place. Vanderbilt wins this game 31-24, and I'm gonna just set this up. Anthony Richardson throws for 400 yards. He throws for 3 scores. All right.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt is seriously like, hold my beer because they won this game 31 points on 10 completions. 10. Mike Wright threw 3 scores. So 7 of his completions. Hang on, how am I wording this? He threw 3 touchdowns, 10 of them were completions. 7 of those were just normal completions. I mean, and his QBR was 52.1. He only threw for 108 yards.
Yeah.
What's happening in life right now? I just don't understand.
I don't either. I mean, Anthony Richardson had more yards passing than. Not only did he do that, he had 120 more yards passing than Vanderbilt had yards.
But period.
Turnovers and just very uninspired football, which I get because of Nashville at noon, but I don't get when you're in a first-year coach and you're trying to climb back from things like this that have happened periodically off and on, not necessarily to Vanderbilt, but you dropped this game to Vanderbilt despite dominating almost statistically. The only thing they didn't dominate was rushing, and they've been a really good rushing team. And they had, Montrell Johnson, 11 for 32. Mm-hmm. Anthony Richardson with 4 rushing attempts, and I just don't understand why that's ever a thing. I don't necessarily think he was injured. Maybe he's banged up because it is week 12. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But that's just inexcusable. I mean, that's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was, right there on the wall was Florida's chances of going 7-5.
Yeah.
And Vanderbilt and that ruckus hostile crowd. Woo! Man. So many not nice things to say. So therefore I'm just going to move on.
Yeah.
Hey, really thought Nebraska was going to pull out this win over Wisconsin, and the only thing, unless you have something, because the stat line on this is just atrocious all the way around, except for Malusi, who was the running back for Malusi and
Wisconsin.
Allen. Yeah, Wisconsin running backs. Do you know that Nebraska lost to a team week 1 who does not have a win on American soil, but they got one in Ireland?
Yeah. God, dude. Just God bless. How awful.
So while we're on this topic, I think a name that you and I threw out for this Nebraska coaching job was a Gary Patterson. I think there was another name potentially thrown out, possibly like a Matt Rule, but it seems that Patterson is shutting down any kind of coaching chatter saying he's in Texas. And I know that's what coaches do, but he's not a head coach. He's, I mean,
an analyst.
Yeah. And if anybody has opened Deion Sanders has kind of opened the door to say, yeah, I'll entertain that. So, I mean, you're an analyst. Why not say, sure, I'll entertain offers? I mean, you're not the head coach somewhere else. You're
not even a coordinator.
Analyst, but he seems committed. Sounds like he's committed to Sarkisian and Texas.
Yeah. Big brother.
Yeah. Right. So that Nebraska coaching search is quiet, but it sounds like they're ready to make an announcement once the season is over. So I'm in a tailspin. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who they've got lined up. I don't know what's about to happen.
Same.
Yeah. Anyway, also being tailspinned, I need to apologize to our listeners because your boy fell for the Michigan State helmet trick. I mean, the sticker trick. So
glad they didn't do it.
Yeah, right. But it turns out whether they had that sticker or not, it would have not helped them beat Indiana at home.
I don't know. I mean, they did lose by 8 points. So tunnel 8 points. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Man. Oh, I see what you did there. That took me so long.
Yeah.
That took me so long. That took me so long.
We're still down. It's okay. We're down.
Did you see how Indiana won this game? Have you looked at the stat line? This is the only reason I'm going here.
I know that Michigan State dominated this game and managed to lose it, but I don't know much other than that.
Well, just peek at the stats real quick. I mean, it's going to pop off at you. I mean, I'll hum a little Jeopardy music while you find this because
Oh, I got it. Oh, not only did Michigan State double them up in yards almost, Indiana passed for 31 yards.
On 2 completions.
Oh, no, on 2 completions.
7 attempts. They attempted to pass the ball 7 times. They were dedicated to running. Shivers, 13 carries. Williams, 16 carries. Henderson, 11 carries. Shivers went for 115. Williams went for 86. Henderson went for 36. They ran for 257 yards.
Oh, my goodness.
Correct is what's his head? Johnson from Georgia Tech. Is he the head coach at Indiana? Am I missing something here?
I mean, did they slip into the military academies? Is that what they did here?
Good gosh. I mean, do we need to start mentioning, Indiana football when we do moments of silence before games and recognize militaries and stuff like that? Please stand if you played football at Indiana University. We would like to thank you for your service.
Yeah, dude.
Good gosh. Wow. I couldn't skip over that. I just couldn't.
No.
That
had to be addressed.
I absolutely couldn't. We're going to keep moving down here. Kansas State, man. That Tulane loss just kind of continues to haunt them.
Yep.
That Texas loss, it was hurting because I mean, you're talking about a really good team when they're on. Now, when they're off, it seems to be a different case. But handled business against West Virginia. And the reason I'm pointing this one out is because, again, no sign of Adrian Martinez.
Yep.
Does anybody know what's going on with Kansas State and Adrian Martinez? I mean, does anybody have a clue of what's happening here? Because I don't have a dang clue of what's going on. And if you'll notice, JT Daniels, no stat line for him.
Yeah, I think he may be banged up is what I think there, but I don't know that for sure. But it seems like more on the Kansas State side that Adrian Martinez has been replaced because that Will Howard kid, man, he's balling out.
He is that man. Adrian Martinez might want to consider a position change if he has any eligibility left, but I'm not sure that he does.
Yeah, he probably doesn't.
Yeah, making our way downtown, walking fast or talking fast. Well, I don't know lyrics. Whatever. Georgia plays to the level of their competition. Period. All right. 16-6 to Kentucky. And I didn't pay a lick of attention to this, and it's simply because they were on CBS, and I'm done with CBS. I was like, you know what? I'll pull up 4 games on ESPN at one time, and I will enjoy my life instead of scrolling through my phone on 1,000 commercials, watching Georgia find a way to beat Will Levis and Kentucky. Did you see any of this one?
I watched a good bit of this game. Yeah, I agree. Georgia plays the level of their competition, and they sleepwalk when they're not playing a top. Maybe I'll say top 15 team or something like that because they started out strong. I mean, moving the ball, they kind of moved the ball all day, and just refused to actually score points. We can deem this though the Kenny McIntosh game because can you believe that this was his first career 100-yard rushing game? Can you believe that?
Holy crap! Really?
Yes, a guy that's been in Athens for 2 decades, I know now, is a senior, and he goes 19 carries for 143 yards and a touchdown. He didn't catch the ball as much as he frequently does here. Matter of fact, no one really did. Brock Bowers, 2 receptions, 10 yards. Darnell Washington doesn't even have a reception here. Yeah, I mean, it was very uninspiring football from Georgia. In the group chat that I'm a part of, lots of complaints about just how they turn offensively. And this is actually frustrating for me, how they turn offensively so conservative when they get a lead. It's like they are dead set on bringing back the early 2010s, late 2000s, and they just want to run the ball every single down. Credit to Kentucky, though. Credit to Will Levis. He actually played. If this wasn't his best game of the year, and I'm not even necessarily worried about the stats because he was 20 of 31, 206, touchdown and a pick. And young Barryon Brown had himself a game going 10 for 145 and a score and just making some highlight reel catches. But again, some credit to Kentucky for that. But Georgia just rolling the ball out there, trying to bowl the ball down the field and ice this game away. I mean, had to be one of the fastest CBS games of all time, despite touchdown commercial, extra point commercial, kickoff commercial, despite that being the norm for them. Can't wait till they travel north. CBS.
Ugh, over it. The McIntosh comment, the only thing I want to say there is that's probably just the depth at that position for Georgia.
It is. Yeah, it is.
They've got too much talent there to say, hey, you're going to get all these carries. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
Why not when you can rotate those bodies? Moving east to Clemson. I cannot believe that they have a shot now back at the playoffs because of this Tennessee loss. That I think that really what bothers me the most. But Clemson, I don't know if you saw this game on Saturday, but it's almost like Clemson took an approach that I can't ever recall them doing, and it was one of those like an anaconda. We're going to wrap ourselves around you and we're just going to slowly squeeze the life out of you. And that's kind of exactly what happened. It was a slow and painful death for Miami. Clemson would loosen their grip and allow Miami to breathe just a little bit here and there. But for the most part, Miami is bad.
Very.
And they're going to be playing Pitt next week, and so they could seriously finish this season 5-7. DJ Uiagalelei, 22 for 34, 227, 2 scores, 1 pick. He was also the leading rusher, 17 for 89.
Yeah.
The stat line, I don't know if you saw this game. The stat line doesn't really depict, I think, how he played. He looked really, to me, I could be wrong. He looked really nervous. He looked kind of unsteady. He was light on his feet. There were several times he was not shifting his weight, turning his hips, letting the ball out. Just seems like he's regressing, or at least based off this one game, he's regressing and like his footwork and his mechanics and stuff like that. And if you're like, well, Dan, you didn't play quarterback. I mean, it's simple. You can watch when the weight shifts from their back foot to their front foot, and you can see a turning of the hips, and he just wasn't doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think about Clemson. I mean, if they get in, if they play a Georgia, and if Georgia's up for that game, that could be a bloodbath.
Could be.
And I think TCU is just good enough offensively to outscore you.
Yeah.
And even though that's a really good Clemson defense, I think Quentin Johnston could cause some problems there. But obviously that's a matchup that might not even take place. But an Ohio State and a Michigan, a Georgia could really just turn that into a bloodbath.
They could if they played their A game.
Yeah. So I
don't know what to make of Clemson.
I have no idea what to make of Clemson. But again, pointing out Miami is going to, I just got a text from Ryan Phillips asking if I'm okay, and I'm just going to respond right here on the podcast. Go home. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Hey, what? Just this comes to mind real quick. What do you think? What do you think of if you think of an impressive win? And I can lay you out some candidates if you want me to. What do you think is the most impressive showing or win for Clemson in this 22 campaign?
Well, let me pull up their schedule real quick. So you've got a 41-10 shellacking of Tech. You did what you should get to against Furman, against Louisiana Tech. 6-point win over Wake Forest in double overtime. 10-point win over NC State. Oh, I'm gonna say that 6-point win over Florida State in Tallahassee.
To me, it's that 6-point win or the 6-point win over Wake Forest. Just looking at how explosive Wake Forest can and would be at that time of the season, and then how tough Florida State's proven over the season. To me, that those would be my wins as well.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. There's not a lot to be respected there. Especially with kind of the fall there of Wake Forest and not sure what they're turning out to be. The rise of Florida State makes that win look better, but whatever. Just pointing out really quickly, Miami's going to host Pitt. Pitt might have more fans in Hard Rock Stadium than Miami does. Pitt's a 6.5-point favorite. I hate to say it, but I think I'm going to be rooting for Pitt here.
Oh, I will be too.
There's something about that Miami brand that's just kind of turned me off over the years. I mean, you were fun to watch in the early 2000s, but kind of over it.
Yeah.
Texas. Here's a fantastic question. Who is Texas? Who are they?
7-4 Texas shellacks Kansas. And I don't know who they are either, because I don't know who they are. Sometimes they are fantastic defensively.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes Quinn Ewers looks like he's going to be a heck of a player, like a pro player.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just don't get that. And I don't know. I just don't know who they are.
I got nothing, man. I got absolutely nothing other than Bijan Robinson finally kind of did what I was expecting him to do all year, 25 carries, 243 yards. He does have 1,400 yards on the season, which is a very quiet 1,400 yards.
Yes, it is.
Because I know there's a few games there where he just didn't perform at all. So,
yeah,
whatever. The verdict is out. Week 11, game 11 on Texas. The verdict is out or sorry, we're still uncertain.
The jury is out.
Yeah, the jury is out. Sorry, on on who they are. I got nothing, man. I got absolutely nothing.
Let's jump back to Ohio State real quick, because we did touch on Michigan. We touched on
my bad.
We were toying with skipping past it. I just wanted to make sure that we didn't.
I did not mean to do that. Yep. Go ahead and set us up there, Buttercup.
No, absolutely. A game that finishes 43-30, largely exclusively finishes a 2-touchdown deficit for Maryland because of a fumble / losing of the ball from Talia Tagovailoa on a doomed play from the start there towards their own end zone, allowing Ohio State to make that a 13-point win where it was 37-30 prior. And they did exactly what TCU and Michigan did. They fooled around with their food, toyed with their food all day.
Yeah.
We talked about Georgia, playing to the level of their competition. Is that the case for Michigan and Ohio State, or are they more who they are? What you see is what you get. I don't know.
Well, I don't know if you saw this. Did you see this game?
Not much of this one. My eyes were elsewhere at that time slot.
Okay, so we had this one pulled up. This was one of the 4 on our grid, and we kept making this one full screen. Talia played out of his mind. He balled out. The stat sheet doesn't really, portray that. 26 for 36, 293, but his ability to elude pressure and and make himself look like Bryce Young, keeping his eyes downfield and stuff like that, keeping plays alive, because they just didn't run well. I mean, at all. 31 carries, 84 yards. He single-handedly kept them in that game, and it was incredibly impressive. But right there at the end, wetting the bed, kind of like the way they did back in, I think, 2018. Back when Urban Meyer was head coach. They kept referencing that. It's the only real reason I can remember it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you've got teams like Georgia and Ohio State playing to the level of their competition, and say what you want to about Michigan, I'm not sure if that's the case with that Michigan-Illinois game.
Yeah, I think Illinois is better than some of these opponents for sure.
Absolutely. So it'd be interesting to see how Georgia and Ohio State come out. That would be an interesting matchup in my mind. 2 different offenses.
I agree.
2 star-studded defenses. That would be a lot of fun. That's kind of my ideal matchup in the semis. I don't really want to see that as a natty.
No, I'll be pulling for the refs if it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wearing my black and white.
Oh gosh, is it basketball season? That night it is. So so Tagovailoa just kind of kept that one alive. But I mean, you take him off that, Ohio State wins. Big. So I think depth finally showed itself for Ohio State in that finish, and was just too much for Maryland. I want to talk about an SEC team here that played a Group 5 school, and I just don't. Man, I just can't get past these guys. Maybe it's because if Tennessee didn't exist, I would probably be a fan of them, because they hate Georgia and Alabama just as much as I do.
Yep.
But Auburn played around with their food, I think.
Yes.
Or maybe they didn't. Maybe they're trying real hard. Who knows?
Yeah.
Tank Bigsby, 18 for 110. Hunter, 13 for 109. Quarterback for Western Kentucky, 55 attempts, 26 completions. Did you see any of this one?
Not 1 minute. You told me that they tied it. Western Kentucky tied it at 17 right before half. Which they didn't score again. So credit to Auburn for that. But no, I didn't see a minute of this.
I guess the reason this intrigues me is because if I was a college football player, I would kind of want to be at Auburn right now. It's just exciting. And there has no reason to be exciting.
Yeah.
It's got nothing. It's got nothing. They're gonna host, or excuse me, they're gonna travel to Tuscaloosa, and they're 21.5-point dogs. Oof. And Carnell Williams is just gonna be.
I'd love to be a fly on his wall this week.
Right.
Those practices, his office.
Yes. If I'm him, I know this is not our preview show, but if I'm him, I'm saying, listen, we know what schemes are. We know what the plays are. We're not installing anything new at this point. It's going into week 14. We're gonna hit, and we're gonna hit all week. I'm gonna junction boys you guys to death, and we are going to win the physical. We're gonna win the hitting match come Saturday. They will forever remember the night they played the Tigers. So I don't know. I don't have any real comments on Auburn other than I kind of just want to be a fly on the wall in their field house this week, and I just kind of I want to have I want to go have Waffle House with Carnell Williams and just see how inspired he makes me to eat a chocolate chip waffle.
Yeah.
I don't know. So the good thing about Tennessee on Saturday is we're one of about 3 teams that really wet the bed. Us, Florida, and North Carolina.
And just with you setting that up, I want to just highlight how big of a nuisance Georgia Tech and Notre Dame have been, either in the ACC or to ACC top tier ACC teams this season, with Clemson and North Carolina losing to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
North Carolina not really having a playoff shot, but because of where they've been ranked, but being a one-loss team this late and losing to this Georgia Tech team.
Yeah. With playoff hopes kind of alive.
Exactly.
Well, it's done now for them.
Yeah.
You can't have a loss like this to Georgia Tech, but
Heisman campaign is dead too. Yeah.
Yeah. At 16 for 30, 202 yards and a pick. I don't know. I didn't see a lick of it other than the final score going, oh my gosh, what?
Yeah.
What happened?
I thought that was a halftime score because you don't see North Carolina score 17 points and you don't see them lose games like this season, except for that Notre Dame loss. That was, again, still bonkers to me. But not a halftime score. That's a final score, and credit to those Georgia Tech players who are also going to be fighting for bowl eligibility.
Yeah.
Much like Auburn, but against Georgia.
Yeah. I don't know. This is such a weird 2007. It's like a playoff version of 2007.
Yeah.
Anyway, hey, let's move on to Arkansas Ole Miss. And I just want to throw a Lane Kiffin quote in there. Did you see this? This is gold.
No.
He was basically this is Lane Kiffin on reports of being Auburn's number 1 target as their head coach. And he says, maybe if Auburn watched the first half of our Arkansas game, I wouldn't be number 1 anymore.
What in the world, dude?
They got slapped.
They got murdered at their own game. Although they ran well, they got demolished by their own game.
Yes.
They ran for 463 themselves.
Evans 207, Judkins 214. Yeah.
And they only managed 27 points and a 15-point loss to Arkansas. This at the time 5-5. Excuse me, 5-5 Arkansas team that they managed that against.
Well, and 3 of those scores came in the fourth quarter. So, you're going into the fourth quarter down 42 to 6.
Woo!
So it's over, right? And you just keep I don't know. So I guess the best question to ask ourselves out of this is, well, actually, first. Did you see Sam Pittman's post-game comments?
No, I did not.
How he's going to celebrate?
Mm-mm.
He says he's going to celebrate with a cold beer.
Oh, of course he is. That's just who he is.
So I got two questions. What kind of beer is he drinking? And did Lane Kiffin already sign the contract with Auburn? Is that what happened?
Whew. Man, it looks like he's out, but he ain't talking like he's out. Or maybe he is. I don't know, man. He plays the best misdirection of anybody out there. But, I mean, good not, dude. Yeah. Just getting murdered.
Murdered. I mean, and
they had 700 yards of offense, and they got beat by 15.
Oh, my gosh. KJ Jefferson, 168 yards, 3 scores. Raheem Sanders, 24, 232. But a straight shellacking and a skinning of the Rebels.
Yeah.
Bedlam. We were both wrong.
Very wrong again.
So here's what I think going into the last week of our prediction episode for Pandemonium Reigns. Let's just not make predictions. Because
let's not make predictions.
We're so bad. We're so bad at this. I don't. Did you see the stat line for Sanders?
Just now, and I wish y'all got to watch the YouTube version of this for my face just then. 67 attempts.
Yep.
Leads them in rushing, 17 carries for 42 yards, with 67 pass attempts and 4 picks to go with it.
I mean, the numbers are not in your favor when you throw that amount of times, Jeff. Of course you're not. I mean, you're going to throw picks. It's what's going to happen. But he was the reason that I was saying that they're going to win this game. But Dylan Gabriel said, hold my beer, 20 for 40, 259. And Eric Gray, former Tennessee Volunteer, 20 for 90. Do not click Eric Gray's name. Don't do it, because I want you to give me how many yards you think he has on the year.
1150.
Wow, you're really close. 1203.
1203. Wow. I've seen him put up some crooked stat numbers against, well, I don't know against what competition. I've just seen at times this year he's had some nice stat lines. But yeah, I didn't cheat for what it's worth. I didn't cheat.
Well, that snuck up on me. I wasn't anticipating that at all. I mean, I guess good for him. Maybe he's finding those yards out of a McDonald's bag.
Oh, and Dallin Hayden, son of Aaron Hayden, also helped Ohio State win that game. Just to throw that in there.
Oh yeah. Well point out. Let's fly out west to L.A., where Josh Pate was. And what a game to be at. 3-point win for the Trojans, even though we reported this while we were recording the Orange Cast.
Yep.
Did Caleb Williams thrust himself into Heisman conversation?
Yes, Caleb Williams has thrust himself in the stupid Heisman, stupid Memorial, stupid Trophy Award.
Oh, stupid.
This award sucks now that Hendon Hooker's hurt so badly. Not that his candidacy would have necessarily survived the loss of Saturday night anyway.
Yeah. But
here's Caleb Williams with 3480 passing on the year, 33 touchdowns and 3 picks. And I'm just trying quickly to get back to CJ Stroud's numbers. But to me, I mean, you could probably take CJ Stroud off of that Ohio State team, and they're probably a very similar version of what they are. Not to make this an MVP award. I'm not trying to do that, but he's got 500 more passing yards, 1 less interception, 2 less touchdowns than CJ Stroud. And again, I'm not trying to make it an MVP award.
Yeah.
But he is way more valuable to USC than Stroud is to Ohio State. Yeah. And he's been pretty dang outstanding as well. So this award's going to be a snoozer. I won't tune in to 2 minutes of that broadcast. That'll just suck. It'd be very pointless to me. But it's probably
what if Hendon's still invited?
You know, if Hendon's invited, I'll probably tune in and just watch his comments with tears streaming down my face the whole time for what could have been.
Yeah.
And listen, he should be invited. He should be invited. But the candidacy was dead before he took that fall on Saturday night. The candidacy, you can't survive it with a loss like that. You know, USC's loss is a 1-point loss to Utah, who still is not great, but is not terrible. It's Williams' award now, which, you know, is like I said, just
you think it's set up for him?
Yeah, I think it's Caleb's award now. Yeah, I think it's his. I just don't think Stroud has done enough with these kind of ho-hum performances of late, and Ohio State kind of messing around. I just don't think he's done enough. We'll see how the voters think, because they've probably already had their ballots filled out in week 1. But again, neither here nor there. Credit to Williams, yada yada yada. Didn't have a ton of chemistry with any of these players. He basically only had chemistry with his head coach, and they've just thrown that team together. Kind of speaks to their schedule, but he's done his part, so I think it's his award.
Caleb Williams winning the Heisman would create a story that the media could just run wild with. They would be flashing back to his time in Oklahoma and when Spencer Rattler lost the job and the move to, they would just have a field day. With that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson almost did this by himself. If you go back and watch highlights of this game, he is unreal. He throws a bad pick late. He does throw 3 altogether, but he's good for 309 yards, 4 scores. He runs it 14 times, 81 yards. Charbonnet was well on the ground, 19 for 95. That game. So if you'll remember from last year, this was a shellacking onto the Trojans from the Bruins. And this is a rivalry I would like to see pick up some steam. I would like to see this one really gain a lot of momentum, and I would like to see it placed. Don't get me wrong, for personal pleasure, I kind of like that it's a week 13 or week before the rivalry week. That way it's not lost in everything else. But hopefully this one really turned this rivalry game around and makes it exciting again. One more before we hop off here, and that would be Utah and Oregon. Utah, I had them as Pac-12 champs, and that eliminated their chance of being in the Pac-12 game, especially with the Trojans winning that. I believe this is going to be is this going to be Oregon and USC, or is this going to be Washington and USC?
I think it'll be it will probably be Washington and USC because of that head-to-head win there.
It's going to be Oregon and USC because Washington's got 2 conference losses and Oregon only has the 1. So this is going to be Oregon and USC. That's going to be interesting. I will be very interested in that one. Didn't see a lick of this Oregon and Utah game. But Bo Nix, 25 for 37, 287, 1 score, 1 pick, 2 carries, negative 3 yards.
I think he had a bad ankle coming into this game, or whatever his injury situation was there that affected just moments of that Washington game. I think that was still a thing because he was in question of whether he would play or not. But tough performance yet again.
I think anytime you beat Utah, that's a credible win just because they're scrappy. They fight. They find ways to win. They're well coached. They don't really beat themselves. So hey, props to Oregon for that one. Let's close things out by talking playoff. You've kind of handled the Heisman talk there, which is good. I didn't really want to get into that personally, but so Georgia's going to finish with Georgia Tech. Ohio State and Michigan are going to face each other. TCU is going to finish with Iowa State. That should be a win. Southern California is going to finish with Notre Dame. That's interesting. And obviously LSU will finish with my gosh, I forgot his name, Fisher, and the Aggies. And Clemson hosts South Carolina. They do, yes. So how do you see things kind of unfolding here? What do you think the not the CFP top 25 this week, but what's it going to look like post coming out of rivalry week?
I think when that time comes, so we're talking about pre-conference championships, is what we're talking about here after the finale of the regular season. See no reason that Georgia to have concern for Georgia. I think their worst effort is good enough against Georgia Tech for sure.
For sure.
Whatever that is. So I've got no reason to move Georgia down from number 1. Gosh, I just don't like the way that Ohio State and Michigan are playing right now. Michigan's playing more solid defense, and they've always had their run game.
Yeah.
So that, if that game was at the Big House, unlike, like it is not, it is at the Horseshoe, I would for sure feel very confident about riding with Michigan. I would say Michigan number 2, probably looking at TCU number 3, and Ohio State at 4 or 5. But I just don't know, man. I mean, you're still talking about, they broke the streak last year, but how long has it been since they won at the Shoe? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And all the factors and the weirdness of that game. It's like all the other rivalries almost wrapped up into one huge bow on our beloved sport. So I've got the winner of that game, number 2. As long as it's not a blowout one way or the other, I think the loser of that game will slide down to 4 or 5, because that will be their first loss. And it will be a respectable loss, not a bad loss, unless it's just a bloodbath of sorts.
Yeah.
Frankly, Notre Dame has caused chaos all year long. Can they do that again with USC? LSU and Texas A&M, not a ton of concern there for LSU, but they, after that Bama win, have been somewhat uninspiring. So what LSU team comes out? Clemson, still not going to worry about them with South Carolina, unless I can't even entertain that unless. I'm just going to say Clemson wins. And then I still like Alabama against Auburn, despite how they're playing right now. So
yeah,
I guess the way I would have it looking as we exit week 13 and rivalry week is Georgia, winner of the game, which again, I think just now with my gut and the mental side of this, I'll go with Ohio State in a close one.
Okay.
TCU 3. Gosh. Michigan 4.
It's hard to argue. It's really hard to argue. I mean, I think this might be the highest viewership on this Michigan Ohio State game than we've seen, and it always catches a ton of views. And if I'm Big Ten, I'm saying, hey, we're gonna move this from noon?
Yeah.
Can we get this scheduled for at least 3:30? Can we at least get a 7? I mean, can we get a 7 o'clock block? That would be ideal.
Yeah.
I mean, that game under the lights would be unreal. It'd be awesome. Cold as crap.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something here, and I'm going to give you time to think about yours as well. So basically, you gave us a rankings, how it's going to unfold.
Yeah.
Give me I'll go first because I'm ready. And I'll give you time to think about it. Give me a ratings, which is stolen from Josh Pate. They line up on a neutral field. Who wins? Who do you like? I like Georgia 1 overall. I don't see anybody beating them when they play you at the level of your competition. When they play at their elite level, I just don't see them losing.
Yep.
I got them back-to-back champions.
Yeah.
Just throw up in my mouth.
Yep.
On a neutral field, playing tomorrow, I'm gonna put Michigan at 2.
I don't want to do this at the same time as you. I'd like to think that I'll do this after you, but I would lean that way as well for the exact reasons I mentioned in my actual rankings. I would do the same thing. Yeah. The horseshoe is the factor for me. The horseshoe.
Absolutely. Which has me putting Ohio State at 3.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put USC at 4. I like them over TCU, who is at 5. I think if TCU finds a way to get in, they'll be out real quick. Yeah. I don't like them against Georgia. I don't like them against Michigan. I don't like them against Ohio State. I don't like them against Southern Cal. They do keep winning. They do keep finding ways. How exciting would that semifinal game be if they found a way to win, and whoever it was, because they're probably the 4 seed, which would probably have them facing Georgia. Yeah, which I would be. I'm gonna find some purple, and I'm gonna put some horns all over my body, and I'm gonna act like a frog all dang night. I'm gonna do whatever spiritual dance I got and figure it out. Yeah. But ratings, neutral field, playing tomorrow, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, Southern Cal, TCU, and I just don't know that it matters after that.
Yeah. If I'm going ratings and if I'm stealing from the AP top 25 that I've got in front of me right now, and again, neutral field, who's going to be favored?
Yep.
Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. And this is where I'm going to mix it up. If I'm stealing from this AP top 25 that's in front of me, I'm not going to dip too far down the line. But if I'm talking about ratings and neutral field, I'm going to go LSU. I'm not going that way in the CFP.
Wow.
But on a neutral field with what they've done and how they started, I'm going to go with them in the ratings.
Over a TCU, which is I'm okay with, but over a USC as well?
Absolutely. TCU, I'm sorry. Well, actually, this applies to TCU as well. Their defense doesn't give me a lot of confidence. If we're talking about a neutral field, we're talking about, in that sense, some time to prepare for both teams.
Yeah.
But yeah, and LSU's defense against that TCU offense, I think could create plenty of troubles. And I think they could do the same for USC. In a rating system, that's how I'm going to go. And I would even go that way. I think it would be a low scoring affair, but if it's neutral field, all things even, I'm going to go LSU over Clemson as well. If that wasn't clear, because I see Clemson is right there at 7 with LSU at 6 in the AP. But again, if we're talking about ratings and who's going to be favored, that's what I'm going to do.
Good stuff. So after LSU, who's at 4? Who's your 5th? Did I miss that?
No, you didn't. I think I would go USC at 5, TCU probably, man. Now, if I'm looking down the line, I don't know who all I would favor them over on a neutral field. But if I'm just stealing from this group of teams clustered right there, I think, like I said, LSU 4, USC 5, TCU 6 probably is where I'm at.
Wow. LSU. Wow. I guess I was thinking too much of also who could still get into the playoff the way I organized that top 4, but that's a good point, man. That's golly. If you're LSU, you have to be kicking yourself over that Tennessee loss at this point.
Tennessee loss and that losing a game on a blocked extra point. I mean, they're a big loss to Tennessee and executing an extra point away from being undefeated.
Well, I don't know. I think the Tennessee loss looks worse because you took a thumping at home as opposed to barely losing on neutral field in week 1. Yeah,
absolutely. No, for sure.
So, yeah. Well, make sure you guys comment on this video. Tell us what you think. Like this video. Share with your friends and family. Let them all know about Pandemonium Reigns, about Mike and Dan and Mike. Find us on the TikToks, on Spotify's. Find us on Twitters. Michael's killing the Twitter game for Pandemonium Reigns right now. Like
keeping it PG somehow too. It's crazy.
He's borderline hostile environment on Twitter. Borderline. Yeah. So hostile environment. That's a good podcast name. Maybe we should switch.
Hey, next year. No, I'm kidding.
Oh gosh, season 2.
Kidding.
Well, hey, if you know any Tennessee fans in your life, pray for us because it's been rough. It's been real rough. And honestly, the worst, as we close this episode, the worst absolute thing after giving all sorts of props to South Carolina, those guys playing lights out, us not matching intensity, us almost just not wanting to be there. We could make the excuse we didn't have Jeremy Banks or this, that, and the other. Despite all that, South Carolina won. They deserved it. They deserved the win. We had no business winning that game. But the worst part about it is Hendon Hooker's time in an orange jersey being over.
Yeah, we're just to preview something that's coming. We're going to talk about this, and this is not an Orange Cast, but I'm just going to preview it anyway. We're going to talk about what these seniors have done for the University of Tennessee. Hendon Hooker is the biggest part of that, no doubt. We're going to talk about it. It'll be probably after the season or maybe leading up to the CFT. We'll talk about that because this group has changed some things, but as we saw, they haven't changed everything and just left some execution out there on the field from really having a run.
Yeah, absolutely. Be on the lookout. I haven't talked to Michael about this yet, so be on the lookout. We could be talking about dropping more episodes as the season comes to an end, as we get into conference championships, as we get into playoff stuff like that. More episodes, shorter episodes, possibly talking Heisman, different championship games, stuff like that. We need to talk about that, bro.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We will talk about that. Until then, be on the lookout for 2 episodes in the beginning of the week, 2 episodes at the end of the week. We love you guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Eat all the turkey. I'm going to go ahead and say this on here because I'm angry about it. And here's how we're going to close. My mom's husband has decided he's basically going to do all the cooking, which he does every year. But this cracker, okay, has decided he's going to do 2 turkeys. Can we get a turkey and a ham? Bro, I don't want 2 turkeys. Like, no. Like, seriously.
BYOH, bring your own ham.
Bring your own ham. If there's seriously any like legitimate turkey eaters out there, like it's great for a turkey sandwich once the holiday is over. A little bit of mayo, you know what I'm saying? But give me a ham, bro. All day, every day. All day. Big shout out to Schmidt right there. Hey, we love you guys. Have a fantastic week. Stay safe if you're traveling. Make sure to listen to Pandemonium Reigns. God bless. Go Balls.
Pandemonium Reigns.